Okay, let's start with the Vatos Locos. You guys went in. How did you guys come together? Did you guys hang out together? All your Vato Locos. How did that work out, Jesse?
Well, most actors, love to get into the character and the role. So I think when Taylor suggested that we live there, we were in City Terrace actually, with the Garrity Loma boys, who, Big George, part of his family, Raymond, and their family. They were affiliated even though they weren't. They were working with Gang Youth Services, but they helped us out a lot. Interface with the neighborhood. I grew up in Barrio, so it was easy for me to be there, but the other actors had a lot of fun getting to know everybody, getting the onda, getting the mannerisms down. But from what I saw with this stellar cast, I mean, every single one of these guys, whatever role they played, from the first time we did the table reading, you could see that everybody was bringing their A game. And so it was easy to see that because it was a whole year-long process to do this thing. They were supposed to be in San Quentin 1 month. They wound up being there for 2.5 months longer than they were supposed to be there. So they were immersed in this, but we love that as actors, as difficult as it is. And so I got to see every single one of these guys' technique, their immersion into these characters. But because they were committed, they all wanted to represent the cultura correctly. They all wanted to represent the story in the best way. Like he said, Jimmy Baca's words were Chicano Shakespeare to us. So as actors, we relish that. So I think that the bonding when we were in Garrity Loma, when the Vatos Locos all got together and started hanging out and cliqueando, and Valente and Raymond, they know the culture, so it was easy for us to, we improv'd a lot. Taylor really let us get the juices going and improv a lot. And from what I saw, it was the same with La Onda and the guys that were the clique there. I really saw them as actors. I didn't recognize them. When I saw the film, one of the best things I love about this film is I don't recognize any one of these guys when I'm watching the movie. I just sit there and I'm taken away by it. So I think that was the most important thing that we as actors could really do, is just enjoy the ride that they were setting up. And then the rest of it was beautiful. The beautiful photography and camera work, the beautiful direction, and everything that was around us. All the crew, everything, all the art, working with Adan. When they went to prison, I tell everyone, when they went to prison for 2 months, I went back to San Antonio, grew out my heroin look, and sat in this man's studio for 2 months and watched him paint all those masterpieces. So if you don't tell me that the performance that I did was not informed by hanging out with him for 2 months and watching him paint these, then you don't know actors. And that's what we live for. We live to be able to breathe something that then becomes that. To the point of where people say, hey, do you still paint? I don't paint. These guys have never been to prison. They're not criminals. But you know what? That's what we love as actors. And I think that's what you see. Our love for telling this story to you. And so this is truly, I always tell him, you really gave a gift to our raza. Because generationally, we've passed it on like the Godfather to the Italian culture. So thank you to all of you. And, let's let some of the other actors talk about the immersion process.
Yeah, we want to have everyone say a little bit of something. So the actors, Hollywood says there's no Latino actors. Hollywood directors who know Latinos can find those actors. And Taylor and his casting director, they found them and they're here. So for some of the actors, this was maybe one of their first movies. I don't know if that was your experience, but can you talk about that, Valente and Raymond?
Hi, I'm Valente. I play Frankie. Hey! That's where I met Raymond. I did, and so I really had no idea about anything other than, wow, somebody's going to give me money to act. That's badass. And so, but I'll tell you this funny story. When Taylor said, we got the Vato Locos and we're gonna let you guys improv, and it was Jesse and myself and Raymond and Benjamin Bratt, and Damien wasn't there. But Benjamin Bratt was there, and Benjamin Bratt is supposed to be playing this badass Vato, right? And he's wearing penny loafers and he's got a penny in the shoe. So I went off on it, like, whoa, Vato, you got a penny in your shoe, Vato?
What's your gang name, Penny?
Yeah, what's your gang name, Penny? And I think that's what got me the job. I needed to thank Ben for that, because I don't know that I got the job for that.
I remember we were working and people used to walk up and hand me and Valente weed when we were shooting. But Val said, I said, hey Val, why do people keep handing us weed? And he goes, I don't know, but don't say anything. So we got a lot of weed on the movie. Val and I became, and Jeff Rivas, we all played golf together. We became friends from this movie. So we're Vatos Locos on the golf course. And we all got pretty good games.
Okay, let's talk to Spider. Can we give the mic? Okay, he's the other faction of the other gang. And so, who were your guys? Were your gang? They're not here today, right?
3 puntos.
So how was it? Are you really a gangbanger? Oh, there he is. You were 3 puntos. Okay.
Magic Mike was 3 puntos.
Nah, when I met Taylor, I was doing a play on Broadway, and he was out there, looking at people for this film. And I actually, that play ended, and I got offered to do another play, but I knew he was doing the film out here on the West Coast, and I wanted to come out here and do this film. And I came in to read for him and Jimmy Baca, and I read for the role of Paco, I didn't get it, but he said, I want you to play this other role, Spider, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. He goes, no, I think you should do that. He said, you know what? He goes, trust me. He goes, I go, well, there's a lot of stage direction there. There's not a lot of lines. He's like, play ball with me and I'll play ball with you. He says, you come out, we're gonna play, and I'm gonna let you know, we're gonna improv. We got Jimmy Baca there, and he was a man of his word. I'm telling you, I've done a lot of stuff. I'm a longshoreman now. I'm a crane operator down in San Pedro, but this is like my claim to fame. I mean, down there, Spider, he was a man of his word. I went out there and I had a great time being around all these actors, and it was just like I said, I thank all the people for all you still letting it live on and stuff like that. It really shows, what we did. Thank you.
Let's quickly go, before we go to prison, and we're running out of time, so we're gonna go a little bit faster. Before we go to prison, let's talk about the opening and the look and how Taylor wanted to bring the culture into the film. And you could talk a little bit about that, Consuelo. What was your part, what you bring?
So when I got the call from Self Help Graphics, who was the originator of the Day of the Dead celebration here in Los Angeles, that there was a film company that was looking for someone to come in and be a consultant for the Day of the Dead scene that they were doing. I actually was a little suspicious at first, to be very honest, because no one really wants to do something that is authentic. And I was very, very mistaken, and I was glad to be mistaken, because what they did was let me read the script and all of the directions, all of the staging that was in the script with regards to the Day of the Dead scene. And I was a consultant. I told them what worked and what didn't work. I was able to gather all of the artists, all of the makeup artists, all of the look for that show, for that particular scene, all of the extras, the dancers, the props, I still actually have 2 of the Day of the Dead figurines that were highly featured. One in the cemetery where the 2 little boys are playing with that little king. It's a little Day of the Dead paper mache doll that's a king. I have that in my home right now. So it was very, that man who made all of the paper mache dolls studied with the Linares family in Mexico. So you know that that is authentic. That is an amazing lineage to have for this movie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I wanted to say that I thank Taylor for really being committed to the culture. Thank you.
And now, when you make a movie, there's got to be a look, and that's all discussed right before the movie. And the man that gives that movie the look is the cinematographer, the director of photographer. Freddie, can you give, oh yeah, you got the mic. Tell us, what did Taylor say? What did he want the movie to look like?
Well, Taylor is truly an artist, and I have to say that. And he's one of the very few Hollywood directors who is an artist. He and I, and we need to mention somebody else, Bruno Rubeo, his production designer. He's up there, he's looking at us, and I know that he's here with us. Bruno, Taylor and I, we have worked in several films together. We have worked in 2 films with Taylor, and every time the creative process in pre-production is unique as this film is. We work together, we find images. Taylor gave me a mandate. I want to feel the heart of the culture. And we follow Adam's paintings, I follow it. I travel all about East LA. I try to find and get the colors, the palette of colors of this culture. And every element that, and thank you very much, that opening scene is fantastic. James Bond copied it, as you know. And 20 years or 30 years later. So anyhow, what these conversations, that element of being completely committed to make a film that was unique in the look was payoff. And I believe that we have produced and we made a film that visually, as in the performance, in the script, in the spirit, in the heart, is totally unique. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, everybody. Doing great.
Thank you, Gabby. Okay,
one thing, Gabriella, really a very great artist and also a very unselfish artist. And I feel badly because I didn't mention Bruno. Bruno was a production designer. Bruno is Italian, but he was married to a Mexicana, and she's a very, very big costume designer now. But Bruno was part of our team. The 3 of us walked East Los Angeles. We had an office in East Los Angeles. We wanted to make that real. Every moment of that. And of course, when we shot in San Quentin, you see the big things, but you couldn't do any violence in San Quentin. So Bruno, and this is, I want to say one thing, he not only did all this beautiful work, but he recreated the interior of San Quentin. And we had a set here. No one will ever know his work because it looks so real, you think you're there. But he understood he was doing that, but his job was to make this authentic and make it work on every level. So I salute my friend who's no longer with us, Bruno Rubeo.
You know him? Bruno Rubeo was a guy who discovered me in San Antonio. He was down there, they were thinking about shooting the movie in San Antonio. He was down there looking at locations, but they were also looking for art, or an artist, because they had not been able to find an artist. So Bruno was the one who discovered me at the time when I was at the lowest point in my career as a Chicano artist. Being a Chicano artist is really hard because nobody recognizes you as a valid artist. And the next day, Taylor flew down to meet me and talk to me about the film. And I told Taylor, I don't do commercial work. He goes, no, you are going to do your vision of Crucito's character, whose first work is very carefree and vatos in cars y todo, and then it turns dark. Well, it so happened that my daughter, at 18 months, fell out a 2nd-story window and fractured her skull when I was doing these carefree scenes. And then I couldn't sleep at night. My work started getting dark, and I was painting like almost all night. And then Taylor approached me with this project, and I told Taylor, why does a Gabacho want to do a movie about Chicano? He goes, I grew up with the Valdez brothers, you know, Zoot. I said, oh shit. And then he started talking to me in Spanish. And you know, he treated me with such respect during the film, during the creation of all those paintings for the movie.
I almost died doing working on those paintings, you know. So I was doing a painting a day because of the schedule. But Taylor said, before signing, he said, "Are you sure you can do this work?" We're talking about 30 original pieces of work. I said, "Vato, I used to pick cotton all summer long. I can do this out there." Thank you, Taylor. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Okay, we're really quickly going to go into prison because we're running late on starting the movie. But when you get to prison, like someone said, these are not prisoners. They're not hoods. They're not hoodlums. They have to become. And for that, if you're in prison, you have to have your tattoos. And Freddie Negrete was was the first movie, right, that had the tattoos for film. So tell us about who you tattooed, what was the concept, and how fast you got to do them.
Well, the tattooing was a lot like the movie. A lot of problems, big problems with the tattoos. You know, so when Taylor came to me. I was doing a tattoo at a tattoo convention, and he goes, "I hear that you're the guy for prison tattoos." And I was like, "Yeah." And we talked more. I went and we made the agreement. And he tells me, "Okay, you're going to be working with this makeup artist." And you know, I could do tattoos and I could design tattoos, but doing fake tattoos, I don't know nothing about that, you know. And you know, actually the makeup artist didn't know nothing about it either, you know. So, and he's relying on him. And the thing is that tattoos weren't popular back then. I mean, tattoos are in every film you see now, in every TV program, because tattooing has become very popular. But not back then. And so, anyways, when I saw that this method he was using wasn't going to work, I got really nervous about it. In fact, we had Magic Mike come down to this apartment where we were going to do a test run, and it was a mess. His arm, we left his arms just like green, you know. This is not good. We're going to San Quentin in 2 days. What are we going to do? Then when we get up there, so in my little mind, I'm like, we need a backup plan here, you know. And so then we got up to San Quentin, and we were applying the tattoos. The makeup artist wasn't even there. He was in Folsom working on American Me. And I was like, I already had this backup plan. I already knew this wasn't going to work. So when they tried applying the tattoos, again, I'm Magic Mike, it didn't work. And and when they found out that the makeup artist was over there in Folsom, I mean, this is trouble. This is big trouble in the production. And so anyways, they had a meeting. I told Taylor, I go, "Taylor, I got an idea. I've got refillable markers. We'll fill them up with dark green ink. We'll put stencils on like a tattoo, and we'll just draw the tattoos on. All we need is a couple more tattoo artists." And we made it work, you know. And it was kind of tough because, you know, it came off in the showers and this and that. But when we got back to LA, Taylor told me, "Look, there's a guy that does good tattoos for a movie, Freddie Blau, and I want you to work with him." I always did whatever Taylor said. He's the boss. And the Freddie Blau was like, this is no good. He goes, "My method is going to work." And it did work. And I worked with him, and I continued to work with him until he retired for 15 years doing tattoos for movies. Freddie Blau, yeah. And first one, blood in, blood out. But about the tattoos, I was glad that, you know, because you know, I'm from a barrio. I went to prison. I lived that life, and so it was easy to design these tattoos because Tattoos for the Raza is about who we are, where we're from, and the things we love. It was easy to design for that.
And on that note,
this is important because this film has an authenticity, and Freddie's, you know, doing Chicano tattoos. But I went to this convention, and he had you know, these are very famous guys within their own community. So Freddie's there, and a guy came up who was a big tattoo artist in San Francisco, and he said, "Man, I want to pay you respect. I have one place left on my entire body, and I've saved it for you." And Freddie goes, "Man, that's cool." He says, "What do you want?" He says, "Man, I would never tell an artist what to put, You choose. And your shin bone is one of the most sensitive places you can ever be. And I sat there, and Freddie said, well, how about if I do the devil, and he's got a cross with a dagger at the end, and he's trying to strangle Christ, but Christ stabs him in the heart. And the guy says, that's really cool. Yeah. So Freddie, right there, just so you know, I sat this close, and he tattooed for 4.5 hours on this guy who was going. It was hot in there, it was sweating and so on. And I said, man, this is the guy. This is clearly it. But the thing you have to understand is that we had these ideas, you know, when you're in the movies, you say, oh, you know, Cruz will have a tattoo, or we'll do this here. You go to the joint, and they are totally tattooed. So what we had set up was one, you know, Jeff Rivas was going to have, you know, 3 tattoos. You go there, and as I said, these actors are sitting around with the real deal, real guys that are in the joint. And so I had to turn to Freddie and say, man, we're going to multiply these tattoos. We got to cover these guys, and that's a fact of life. And these are things you don't think about when you see the movie. But when you got no time, you got to do it. So when you have people, this is the thing about a professional, delivering under pressure. Anybody can take a year to do something. When you don't have time, but you got to do it, and you got to do it well. That's what we had. Adon is talking about it. He hadn't done it before. I said, Adon, I need all those paintings. Can you do it? And he sits there and said, he never done that before. He painted, but not 30 paintings. Yeah, I'll do it. And Freddie, you know, I did these things, but I do individual stuff, man. I spend a whole day on it. Something. No, you got to do all this stuff. And what you do when you're facing it, you either stand there as a professional and deliver. We all did that. All of us had to go do something we'd never done before, and that's why we're so close, because we stood there in the middle of battle and it worked.